Hi everyone, thanks very much for coming to today's digital leadership briefing. Welcome, I'm Adam and I'm CMO of GrowCreate. The latest briefing will discuss what support means and when performance matters. This session is for you if your platform is responsible for lead generation, onboarding, service delivery, or anything revenue critical. We often see support treated as a back office function, a ticket queue, or a last line of defense. But in our experience with enterprise clients, it's something else entirely. We see support as infrastructure, and today I'll show you what that looks like in practice, or rather, two members of my team will. So, next slide is about support as infrastructure. I suppose from our perspective, we want to start by reframing the role of support. So too often it's seen as reactive, a safety net for when things break. But for our clients, we talked about it as infrastructure a minute ago. It's what keeps digital operations running, from onboarding flows to lead gen campaigns to client portals. Done well, it maintains performance, security, uptime, and prevents risk before it starts, really. It's not an overhead, it's an enabler, and it protects uptime, brand reputation, and revenue. With that in mind, I'll hand you over to our tech lead, Mike, who's going to talk about prevention through technology. Mike, over to you.
Thanks, Adam. So hi, everyone. I'm tech lead at GrowCreate. And in terms of my take on support, obviously I want to know everything I can in terms of the technical performance of all of our websites. So the real key for me is data, and how do we get that data out of the websites, the hosting environments, and generally how everything's running. At the very least, obviously we need to check that the websites are up and responsive. And so we have pretty comprehensive and constant uptime monitoring as a basic kind of starter for 10. So we are constantly pinging the sites, mostly the home pages, and making sure that everything's responding as we expect it. This also ties in with other basic monitoring that we do around SSL certificates and response time. So we can get a very broad overview that the site is behaving as we're expecting it. The next layer to this is obviously working out how the site is responding to traffic and how the application is running. And to do this, we use more complex monitoring around the resource usage within Azure. So that's the CPU usage on the app services, memory usage, database interactions, all of these things on how the resources are responding over time to the differing levels of traffic that the websites get, making sure that all of those resources are scaled correctly to ensure that the websites stay as responsive as we all need from our websites. The issue with this kind of monitoring, though, is that it's real time, and often at the point that something gets flagged to us, it's too late to kind of do anything preemptive and mitigate any attacks in process. So what we've looked into a lot more is how we can proactively monitor websites. And some of these graphs that Adam's just put up on screen show how we do that, and a few examples of when that's helped us. So what we're looking at here is a comparison of different types of inbound traffic. So we're using web application firewalls to monitor inbound traffic and the different types of client that access websites. For these first two graphs, you can see the pink line is all traffic coming into a WAF. The blue line is what actually makes it through to the application, and that amount of blocking that's going on is usually quite a good indicator of something untoward happening, which we can see in both of those first two graphs.
Mike, can I interject? What do you mean by blocking?
So a WAF, or a web application firewall, its sole job is to analyze inbound traffic and determine whether it's malicious or otherwise. It could just be fairly neutral kind of bot traffic. but essentially work out if that request should be allowed to access the website. So there's a lot there around what we can do to kind of block those requests that may cause problems on the site. The first graph is kind of a low-level attack, but it was over multiple days, actually over the weekend not too long ago. And ultimately, because we knew about this, we were able to monitor the site a lot more closely whilst this was going on, and give constant reporting back to the client, which reassures everyone that the website is functional and maintaining access to all legitimate users of the website. It also means that we can prepare any actions that we may need should the attack escalate in any way.
And how might it escalate, Mike? What are we looking for?
I mean, with this kind of attack, with a DDoS attack, it would just it would be a ramping up of those request levels. So as I've said in the kind of in the titles there, this was quite a low level attack compared to other activity we've seen on other sites. So we weren't concerned. The site was up for the whole time. There was no availability issues on this site at all. But we have seen these request counts go much higher in an attempt to take down websites. So we can kind of brace ourselves for that and know what actions we would take if we saw those numbers increase further. So these, all of this monitoring is great for reactive scenarios to ensure the uptime and ensure that sites stay responsive. We also look to do more proactive monitoring, which includes, anything from checking content on requests to more complex kind of multi-step front-end testing. And that's great because it allows us to test even more aspects of websites, from content to link configuration, even as far as, external integrations and dependencies that the website may have on other systems. So we can make sure that all of those pieces are kind of in line and operating exactly how they should.
Can I ask what you mentioned about, being prepared to take action? Like if it's a low level attack over multiple days, you're monitoring it and you're keeping an eye on it as part of, I suppose, a support function. But what is your fallback? What action would you take if it escalated? What would happen next?
There are many different steps that we can take, and each client kind of has a different playbook and has different responses that they may want to give to different levels of attack. Anything from scaling up resources just to cope with that extra load of traffic, just to get the website back up, to manually starting to block problematic IP addresses if we see less distributed attacks that are coming through single entry points. Then we can obviously target those and again use the firewall to manually block those, which can reduce the load on the application and bring it back. All the way through to potentially disabling certain parts of websites that are getting too much attention, or potentially in a very worst case scenario falling back to a static page, to kind of take the website down completely, deter the attack, and kind of wait for it to blow over so that we can bring the main application back up and running again.
And this is all happening in the background.
Yep.
A client, I'm sure we'll get onto this in a moment when we move to you, Anna, but a client experiences our support function when they see an issue.
Yep.
What kind of communication do we have with the client when we see like a DDoS attack occurring? Do we just look after it? Do we communicate the issue to the client and tell them that we're monitoring it? What happens next? This is Anna. Anna, welcome. And I'll move us on to the next slide.
I brought Anna on screen there because this plays into how she manages support. But from my side, on that question you just asked, support is a two-way conversation. Yes, our clients are raising tickets for us, and flagging things when they find it go wrong on the website, but we also raise tickets on their behalf and let them know, communicate to them that we are seeing these issues from our monitoring, so that they can be in the loop and aware of everything that's going on.
And I presume we have a series of recommendations that we can make, like scaling up their service, or, what other things might come into play.
I mean, in this scenario, to tie into Mike's situation nicely, we got our proactive monitoring alert that the web application firewall started seeing more activity than our thresholds. We raised a ticket on behalf of the client. And in this scenario, for example, our client wanted to have a call with some of the members of their senior and security teams to agree actions and next steps. But it kind of ties into how you want support to work for you. And our relationship with support, it sounds really cheesy, but it's like an evolving partnership with our clients. So we learn how they want the solution to work for them. And we also take on board a lot of their feedback to see, how much communication do they want? Because some of our clients are super happy for us to just say, as a heads up, this is what's happening on your site right now. We can see that there's, increased activity here. We're going to continue to monitor it, and we'll touch base with you in another hour if it continues. Others would rather have a call at that point to make a plan of action for the day, agree next steps, potentially take some content down that might have, triggered this kind of attack, or agree that they, if it continues up to a certain point, then we look at things like auto scaling in Azure, which is a really nice automation that allows Azure to automatically scale the resources so that the developers don't have to get involved, and then the site is kind of protected that way overnight. But it really does depend on that kind of evolving partnership that we have with a lot of our support clients, where we're not really a ticket system when it comes to Grow Create support. We really do see our support service as a partnership with them. So I can't give a straight answer. It depends on what you want and how you want that communication to go.
Okay, great. Well, look, I've moved to the next slide, which is covered slightly, but around structured triage and outcomes. Do you want to give us some more information on this?
Yeah, essentially. So as with most support teams, we have our standard SLAs, but then we work quite closely with our clients to understand what's important to them. So for some clients, as an example, an outage is always going to be fast-tracked because that impacts lead generation, reputation, and primarily the user experience. As a user, if you get to a site and you see something wrong, the likelihood of you wanting to return to that site is going to be lower. So we're always trying to proactively make sure that links are working okay, that the images are going well, that all of the things that are important to that client are working as expected. So the way that we try to exceed our SLAs is kind of making a plan of action with our clients early on in support, and then learning how their site reacts and how their site works to ensure that we can proactively pick up any issues. As an example, a search function is really important to one of our clients. So we have specific monitoring that sends us a Teams message if something's not going quite right on that search function. And then we can go and proactively take care of it, or immediately raise a ticket with the client to say, hey, this important feature on your site is not working. I'm going to take care of it and look into it. And I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but that kind of is how it ties into how we work with them and how we beat those SLAs and work with them to ensure that we're targeting the areas of the site that are most important to them.
Do we connect our clients directly with our specialists?
Absolutely, yes. I'm very much of the mindset of, let's try to avoid back and forth emails. Let's jump on a call. And our dev team are very very open and very happy to jump on the calls with clients and talk through it with them. And the one thing that I really like about our development team, as I've seen, is they're very good at explaining things to me like I'm 5 years old. So it's a very good dynamic of breaking things down from a technical perspective into an easy to understand discussion with clients. And they do have active communication with our development team on calls as much as possible. But yeah, that kind of really ties into our expertise of making sure that the right tickets get to the right team members. The more that we learn about a solution, the quicker that we can go, this needs to go to this person because it's an infrastructure issue, or this needs to go to this person because it ties into kind of the SEO of the site, the technical SEO of the site, and work things that way.
So moving on, tell us about, I'm not sure whether this sits with you, Mike, but how maintenance is key to long-term digital performance. How do we view maintenance in terms of performance?
Can talk a little bit about from the support management side of things. So
yeah, great.
We're obsessed with maintenance. I know that maintenance sounds like such a little bit of a boring way of expressing it, but we really like it because we like proactively picking up either new patches for different modules that are being used, and just making sure that the site is continuously working along, and we're doing just small fixes quickly to kind of be seamless across the board. So we have like a monthly mini health check for each of our solutions, and the developers basically raised about 95% of maintenance issues in the background, and they're resolved in the background without our clients even realizing or noticing, because that's how they want to work with us. They're happy for us to push things through and do the maintenance parts in the background. And then on a monthly basis, for some clients, they want to see all of the maintenance tasks that we've broken through. So we send them a report for that. But for the most part, all of our clients are like, you love maintenance. We like our site working as good as it can be. So just do it in the background. And I'll hand over.
Well, maybe you can answer this, Anna. I'm not sure, but I thought it was a more technical question. What kind of give us like 3 examples of maintenance tasks that are performed every month or every week, or maybe some sort of timescales for doing those.
Yeah, I can look at probably the 2 that come to mind are any vulnerabilities, so new releases from Umbraco, so any packages that are associated with Umbraco as well. So Umbraco release probably quite a few security patches, as a lot of our clients would have seen us raising on their behalf, but they also just release minor patches and fixes. So we review those, and if relevant, we apply them to the solution. We also check things like the page speed insights, general health of the site to make sure that it's performing quickly and responsively. And then we go into the personalized side of it, which is looking into what key areas our clients want us to look into. Mike, okay. A little bit more.
Yeah, sure. So maintenance from a technical perspective is one of those great things where it aligns a dev team with a marketing team to kind of pull in the same direction. The dev team, from my perspective, we don't want to work on bad solutions. We don't want to work on messy code. So any opportunity we get to tackle that, technical debt, and really clean up that code and make the solutions work better and websites more performant, it is great for us because it lets us keep the house tidy. We can sort all those things that are bugging us out and make sure that when we get back to it to work on it again, it's in a much better situation. The benefit of all of this is not just keeping developers happy. A cleaner solution means a faster website, means an easier code base to work on. So from a client's perspective, support tickets are resolved much quicker. Development cycles can happen much quicker. Your website performs much quicker. You've got Lighthouse scores will always be maintained high. Those new features that you want to roll out happen much quicker, and any issues that we do find are sorted much easier.
Okay. I've got one question for you. How does so this is coming to the chat? How does support handle security both from a proactive and reactive side, i.e., monitoring and reacting to hack attacks?
Yeah, so this ties into what I was talking about earlier with the web application firewalls. There are obviously a number of different approaches you can take when it comes to security, a number of different solutions out there. We find that most of our higher level kind of enterprise clients want to keep it more in the Azure world. So we'll use something like Azure Front Door or application gateways to implement a firewall and kind of monitor that traffic a lot closer. Some of our other clients are using Cloudflare for a very similar purpose. So there are a number of barriers that you can put in front of public-facing websites to ensure that the traffic is monitored and vetted suitably. And then obviously the kind of the resource maintenance and hosting infrastructure security is another aspect of that, and we keep it all very locked down. Only certain levels of developer have access to hosting infrastructure, and yeah, just keeping the all the best practice from Microsoft in place and making sure that only the right people can see what they need to see.
And
oh,
sorry, Adam.
But I was just going to ask, because we were just talking about how performance can boost SEO and things like that, and I was sort of moving on to sort of this this slide here around sort of for your platform, and we'll try and tie it into a couple of questions. We understand that performance can improve SEO, page speeds, time on site, all sorts of things. What's the sort of the biggest impact that our support solutions have for clients? Is that a clear question? Does it sound, from the looks in your faces, it doesn't sound like it is.
I'm trying to
So how does performance increase conversions or provide a better user experience or improve SEO and search rankings? I mean, it's quite a wide question, but maybe Mike, you can help.
Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned the kind of key one in terms of technical performance. Sites that are faster to load are, convert better. Users are not kept waiting, and we know how impatient end users can be. So that's a huge benefit. Google, will incorporate some of its Lighthouse scores and page speed scores into the SEO and search rankings. But ultimately, it all ties into how we manage the solution at a much higher level. So those development cycles that can be faster because of maintenance all tie into clients, marketing departments and content editors being able to make the changes that they need to on the website when they need to. So they can keep their content fresh, they can keep their content relevant, and they can work on boosting their SEO scores internally without having to worry about their website not coping with the content changes they want to make, or having to come back for development time just to change a single sentence on the website. We can focus on making the CMS platform operate in exactly the way it needs to operate for a marketing department.
Okay, so I suppose to wrap up, really, we're sort of thinking around that. I suppose faster sites lead to better UX and lower bounce rates, search rankings, higher search rankings thanks to sort of speed and stability. I suppose we're offering that to our maintenance. Fewer issues means a stronger brand reputation, and as we've mentioned on the bottom of this slide here, sort of faster growth or organic traffic if your site is well built, the infrastructure's in place, and it's performant. I suppose the overarching thing is that's the sort of the value of treating support as infrastructure, as opposed to sort of a a nice to have and just something that is a function of running your website. I've got another question here. The question is, I see you offer 24/7 support. What type of organisations would most benefit from 24/7 support?
It depends. Again, I'm so terrible at responding to this because it does depend. The clients that have picked this up the most have been our financial services clients. So clients that provide either financial information or legal information to their clients, where you kind of need that to be up 24/7 and in different parts of the world. So they really want that extra layer of assurance that their site is going to be up if something happens overnight, that the team are on it. Also, if any of their integrations or any of their key information is going to be readily available. Those are the types of clients that we've seen so far get 24/7 support. But previously, we've also seen like multinational teams pick that up who are mostly focused on content, and they want to make sure that their site is, accessed very quickly in Hong Kong or in the US, and that comes in all times of night. So yeah, it really does depend on what you want your solution to be and how you want support to work for you. But we've had clients look at just 1 or 2 hours of support overnight just to make sure that everything's running okay, to clients who really want that more robust system with all of the bells and whistles of monitoring alerts and knowing that the team are there available just in case anything happens.
Okay, well, listen, we're out of time. It's supposed to be a briefing, and we've gone over by at least 3 minutes. So I'd just like to say thanks very much for coming on the call. Thank you to everyone that has come on the call today, and I hope it was useful. I hope it was helpful. If you have any further questions, then feel free to get directly in touch. We'll reach out with the slide deck and transcript and stuff like that to those that want it. And thanks again. See you soon.
Thank you for your time. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.